All right.
And we are off. Yay. Awesome. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday, where we come together every week for a few moments of information to educate, inspire, and empower you to live healthy and whole, happy lives. And today I'm very excited to be talking to my friend Colette Ellis. And we're going to talk a little bit about self-care during these times. Self-care is important all the time. I think Colette and I are both big advocates of taking time for self-care, but it can be especially challenging when the world is a little crazy. So thank you, Colette, for being here. And I just want to give you a chance to introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about what you do in your work.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kristen. And I'm so excited that we can connect, even if it is virtual. So this
I
is
know, we've
exciting.
been trying to connect in person for so long in the city, and then of course, everything shuts down.
Yeah, I think that, like we were saying a little bit earlier, like there are some blessings, silver linings from this. So this is definitely one I would say for myself. So hello to everyone. For those of you that don't know, my name is Colette Ellis, and I am Coach Colette and founder of Start Within Coaching. I am based in New York City. And I am a certified stress management coach and also an EFT tapping practitioner. So we can talk about that in this conversation as well as a way of helping to release stress and anxiety that might have surfaced during these times of both civil unrest as well as the pandemic and lockdown.
Yeah, that's a lot on our plates. It's trauma for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And July is also BIPOC Mental Health Month for Black, Indigenous people of color. So it's also that time to be thinking about how trauma gets internalized from all different sources. Again, not just the pandemic, but all of the other things that we are dealing with as a country.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. So a lot of times people will think of self-care as I'm going out for a massage or a manicure, and those outings are a bit limited for many people right now. But what would you define as self-care to be? Like, what is your definition of what encompasses self-care?
Right. I'm glad that you said that. And one of my goals really is to, if you will, take the privilege out of self-care. That's not to say that massages and bubble baths aren't great. But again, when we think of the context of, the world in which we live, not even just with the pandemic and the lockdown, a lot of people don't necessarily have that opportunity to go to a spa or go get facials and the like. So I love, thinking of Audre Lorde and the fact that self-care is not self-indulgent. It is an act of self-preservation. So I think of self-care as a way of being able to literally, as the words say, care for yourself. And that can be in the physical realm, that can be in the mental and emotional realm. So when I think about that, I think about setting personal boundaries. There's the thought that, no is a complete sentence. So being able to set personal boundaries and being able to define and decide what it is that you will or will not do. And then on the physical side, right, it is being also aware of what's going on within you so that you then do know what are the more healthy choices to make to take care of yourself.
Yeah, most definitely. One of the things you just said, no is a complete sentence. That's one of the things I say often and that I feel is paramount for self-care. Absolutely. Now, you mentioned about, it's caring for yourself. Yet there are so many people, myself included, that tend to feel that we need to care for everybody else first before we can care for ourselves. So how do you encourage people that it is self-preservation and really, get people to embrace that concept?
Right. I mean, I think it's, if you think of the almost, which feels or almost sounds corny statement, which many of us probably haven't heard in a while because we haven't been on a plane, maybe in the last few months, but that sense of, putting your own oxygen mask on first before you help others.
Right.
that sense of, or you can't pour from an empty cup. You know, there are enough of these statements or analogies that are really trying to help us to recognize the fact that we, you know, and again, we can say as for the women or the female identifying folks that are watching us, right, that sense of, as much as we may want to nurture and support and care for others, the more you do that from a place of rundown or lack or burnout, right, you're not in the end going to be able to do as much, right? So if you need to think about it through that lens of, well, I want to help people, awesome. Take care of yourself so that you can help more people. And I think of that from the perspective of, you know, activists, or think of people that, you know, that are doing lots of things now to try to really shape
Right.
and change the country. Still need to take care of self, because there's only so far that you can go from that if your tank is running on empty.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned before we went live that you've been solo quarantining. So I know there are other people out there, and that there are so many aspects of taking care of ourselves that involve connection and touch and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about what your experience has been like, and kind of how you are, you know, surviving and thriving in that?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been tough. And in some ways, I've also been sort of looking at it through the lens of what is different, because I've lived alone for a while. So what is different is the lack of touch, you know, almost period, right? Like, so it wouldn't be that I would have tons of people around me all the time anyway, but
Right.
now that sense of not even being able to have that as an option, right? Like, you know, inviting people over or having people over, right? So there's that sense of the physical touch. I think, again, these virtual modalities and Zoom and what all the things that we're doing, I think is one way to retain at least the social connection, right? So that
Sure.
you're not completely, or I don't feel like I'm completely isolated. Although, you know, there are times where I do sit in that, right? That, and I don't mean sit like, you know, when I talk about that with clients, right, you know, sort of have to presence the feeling,
Yeah.
and be in that feeling in order to get to the other side, right, to get to that release. So I think it's really recognizing, right, so again, checking in with yourself, like checking in with myself. How am I feeling? How am I doing? Do I need to reach out, right? You know, I'm also someone who, even though I am a coach and this is our work, and you know this, we both do this work, it takes a lot for me to say, you know, hey, I need to chat, or I need help, right? So that sense of being able to be willing and to be a little bit vulnerable to say, you know, hey, it's been a few days since I've had contact with anyone, or it's been a few days since I've had a conversation with someone, and you know, seeking that out, and not necessarily waiting for someone to reach out to me, right? So I can, because then that can be that spiral of like, well, everybody knows I'm solo quarantining. Like, why hasn't anybody texted? Why hasn't anybody called me? So now you're in that sort of shame and blame game. So really needing to be conscious of it, and then figuring out, okay, what is it that I can do? So is it, you know, is it alone time? Is it meditate? Alone time. I'm thinking that I just said that out loud, but like,
It's alone.
it's always alone, but I mean like conscious alone time. So, and
Right.
I think that's also the tricky part, and I'm sure you see it with your clients as well. You know, I can be alone, but I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm watching, you know, I'm on Facebook, or I'm watching TV, right? That's different than conscious alone time, like meditating or reading or journal. Yeah, quiet time. And that can be kind of scary, pandemic or not, right? That sense of being alone with yourself and allowing what's going to come up to come up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's why many of us, and myself included, have had times where we just keep our schedules so full and our lives so crazy, because we fear that time with ourselves. That silence within ourselves is very scary for many people, most people, I think. And it's when we strip away those things that we can have that time. And I've had this conversation with a few people about just the whole Zoom fatigue. It's like, it's a thing, right?
It is a thing. And you know what's interesting, and I was saying this again, ironically enough, I am sort of one of the only one, I think the only person in my like network or extended networks that is solo quarantining. So when I say things, I'm always like, okay, like, did they get it? But I actually said to someone recently, like, because it's Zoom, it's Facebook, and then it's TV, it's like my perception of like who and what is real seems to shift. Like my dreams they're not wacky, but they're different. I actually even had a dream last night where I was like, I was out and I was in a mall, which is hilarious, phase 4, New York, no malls are open. But I realized I was in there, but I didn't have a mask on. And then it was like this whole thing of like, well, I just need to get back outside. Like, and that was the first time that I had like a true like pandemic related dream. But in other cases, the dreams sort of feel like this blend of, you know, people like I know you, we know each other, but just seeing each other on Zoom, it's almost like I'm watching you on like, you know, Netflix, right? Because it's where is the difference?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you may see us on Netflix next. You never know.
Yes, because Wellness Wednesdays is going to get picked up by Netflix, and then there you go.
It's going to. That's so funny. So tell me about what self-care looks like for you on a regular basis, and the tools that you use with your clients that people may be able to start to incorporate and implement into their own lives.
Mm-hmm. We actually have an online self-care challenge. We have run that a couple of times, and even without the challenge, it's a 7-day challenge, and it follows 7 steps in my Start Within process, and it guides people through, you know, so the first day is Start Within, so you're looking at going inside, and then the second day is like nourishing your well-being, so it guides you through the 7 steps and 7 days to identify what are some habits that you could take on to improve your self-care. So that's something that even when we're not running the challenge like as a full group, anyone can sign up to get the guide off of our website at startwithincoaching.com. So that's sort of something that is something that we do as part of our programming. And then I think, in addition, you know, I mentioned DFT tapping, and I think you've tapped, right?
Oh yeah, I do tapping. I've been doing it more lately since the pandemic. I can't say I ever did it regularly. I've done it a variety of times throughout my life, but this has really led to more consistent tapping for me.
Yeah. And it is that, right? Because it's that mind-body connection of tapping on the points and speaking about what it is that you're going through. So even that you know, that talking about that from the solo quarantining perspective, right? The good thing about tapping is that even when the negative thoughts come up, that's a great time to tap, right? Because often we want to go straight to like positive affirmations, and positive affirmations are awesome. But that sort of negative, you know, psychological reversal voice, you want to be, what helps to release that energy is something like tapping. So that is something that I do for myself as well.
Yeah, I love that.
And with clients.
Yeah, and are there any other tools that that you like that are your favorites?
Yeah, well, I know we're both essential oils freaks.
You love oils. Yeah, tell me a little bit about self-care with oils from your perspective. I have got all kinds of oil routines going on lately.
Yeah,
what's your favorite oil these days?
Yeah, and then there's a way of also layering, you know, oils with tapping, right? So sort of like tapping through the issue, and then, you know, the oil that's associated with it. So, you know, low self-esteem, you would do a little highest potential, and, you know, inhale the oil, allowing it to flow in, and then speaking the affirmations, right? So that thought process, though, again, so we do get things like tapping, things like essential oils, things that get you in your body that allow you to feel and presence the emotion, and then can also help you to clear it. So that that I think is definitely helpful. I mean, aside from just diffusing and clearing your space, I know we both of our companies have things that can be helpful for you know, keeping things clean. And so, you know, particularly in this time where you're trying to like make sure that you're staying safe when you are going outside. So I think that there are so many gems with essential oils.
Yeah. What's your favorite to diffuse right now during this, your solo quarantine?
I was doing a lot of thieves when, like that sense of like coming in and out.
Yeah, yep. Got the on guard, very similar,
Yeah,
where
the on guard.
we're
Yeah,
sanitizing, we're getting our immune system up.
exactly, exactly. I've been doing actually not diffusing, but doing a lot of cedar wood at night to sort of
Okay.
help relax for sleep. That's been very helpful.
Mhm.
And we have Valor, which I don't know what the equivalent would be, or if you guys have that similar. That's really about sort of helping to strengthen and really feel that sort of sense of courage and to kind of soldier through, if you will. Although, again, like we're talking about, the other good thing I think about this time is that it feels like we're stripping away a lot of stuff, right? Or we're
Yes, that's for
ironically, we're wearing face masks, but we're actually kind of stripping off some of our other masks, and being, so to have that courage to really be you and to be authentic and to be yourself, regardless of, what's going on around you.
Right, right. So, but before we wrap up, I just want to go for a second. It's a time, as you kind of referenced earlier, of a lot of civil unrest, and there are many of us like myself who really are searching for how we can educate ourselves, be more aware, be better activists in our own communities. Do you have any, recommendations or advice of what we can be doing on that? Because that is part of self-care too, in my opinion. I think it's like a certainly different level of how we care for ourselves so that we can care for our fellow man, right? And woman.
Right, right. I think that it's interesting. When you were saying that, I was thinking of things. It is the education, right? And doing your own sort of education, not necessarily expecting, people from the other groups, BIPOC leaders or people or communities to educate you. So, right, if you have the curiosity, you have the interest, you have that like desire to be part of this movement, learn, educate yourself. And also, and be aware of what needs to be healed within you, right? We're all in different groups. We all have had different experiences. We all have both our own personal trauma, our family trauma, our historical trauma. So it's like really becoming aware of, and where you'll notice it is, right, when someone says something, what triggers you, right? Where is it that you feel like you're getting defensive? Or where is it that you feel like I'm not whatever, fill in the blank, right? Because that's the moment, right? And then that's the moment that can allow you to say, wow, why did I have that reaction? What's going on there? And instead of digging in the heels on the I'm not or whatever it is, it's like, whoa, wait, dial it back. Why did I have that reaction? What is it about what was said? Particularly if it's, it's a BIPOC person, like that sense of what is it about what is it revealing in you, and because again, whole different live, which I'm happy to do if you'd like, but that sense of, it's about revealing where the biases are, revealing where the beliefs are that then trigger the reaction. So when you move from listening and being open and understanding to this sense of like, oh wait, like, or oh, that's not me, right? When you start to feel that sort of pullback, really digging in and really examining that, because what tends to happen is then when you're in the defensive, then you're projecting back. And now if I've said, when you said that comment to me, it made me feel X. Now it's not about my feeling anymore. It's about how you are being defensive, about how you reacted to what I said, right? And I'm being vague, but I think you get what I'm saying there. And I think that's really important for any kind of collective healing, that people have to do their own individual healing. First.
Yeah, and I think this is a time for that too. I think just it ties in the way that you just expressed it, looking at what needs to be healed within yourself, starting there. And self-care is a lot about tending to the things that need to be healed within ourselves. And when we all start there, we can kind of start to raise the collective consciousness of that. Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much for your insight on that, because we're all learning. We're all learning every day, and really appreciate that. Is there any last tip or bit of advice or thought that you would like people to take away from as it relates to self-care during challenging times?
I mean, I think it's, the things that we've said about, maintaining or figuring out where your personal boundaries are, both physical personal boundaries as well as mental and emotional personal boundaries, really taking the time to check in with yourself and being honest with yourself first about what it is that you need, even if you don't share that with anyone else, or even if you're not yet at the stage to ask for the help, at least being honest with yourself about where you are and what it is that you need. And then being able to find those resources, whether it is from a friend or family, or to more, professional help like coaches like you and I, and really just staying in contact. And even when it gets scary, right, like not feeling like you have to do it all at once, right? So if it feels scary, it's like, okay, like it's that presencing and awareness. And I know it's hard to say it in non-coach speak, but right, like being like, okay, this feeling came up, like, okay, I don't really like that feeling, but at least I know that feeling came up, and maybe I'm not quite ready to deal with that feeling yet, but I know it's there, right? Like it's that sense of just being with yourself and really learning more about how you carry emotions, how you carry stress. Because again, the more knowledge you have, then when you're ready to take action, then you know what you're taking action on.
Right, exactly. I love that. So say once again where people can find you, and maybe also how they can get in on the 7 days of self-care.
Absolutely, yeah. So our website is startwithincoaching.com. And on the services page, there will be a brief description of the self-care challenge, and you can click to sign up to receive the guide there. Here on Facebook, I am Coach Colette Ellis, and on Twitter and Instagram, I am Coach_Colette, because I don't know, back in the day, it seemed important to have spaces, so I put the underscore in my Twitter and Instagram, which sounds funny now, but all those years ago, it seemed to make sense.
Yeah, and it changes like the wind, so so crazy. We have so many platforms now, I can't keep up with them all. I just can't. We'll link all that below, and we upload this conversation on YouTube. All of those links will be below so that people can find you, reach out to you, take advantage of the 7 days of self-care, because why not? Like, why the heck not? That's what we need. And so I so appreciate you chatting and taking time today to talk. And I totally miss in-person gatherings. So I cannot wait until you are no longer self-quarantining and we are able to easily and safely get together. And one of these days we will have that another outing in the city that we've been talking about forever.
I know. Well, outdoors, right? I think it's that sense of, right, like, you're in Connecticut, I'm in New York, and I think like, oh, I'd love to go. But then it's like, for me, at least, all the transportation that it would take to really get there. But, and same for you the other way around. So it's that sense of thinking about how we can connect, at least in outdoor, and have our masks on and do everything right.
That's, I've just the last couple of weeks started to connect with people outdoors. Like I was pretty much, wasn't solo quarantining because I don't live alone, but really very removed and isolated from people. Like I was not going anywhere really. And then just recently I'm trying to get outside and see some people outside for things, and that's nice. So really take advantage of this summer weather to do that.
Yes, the heat. Oh my God.
So outdoor gathering in the shade.
Yes.
In the shade. Well, thank you again, my friend. I so appreciate it. I'm going to turn the recording off. Thank you for all listening, and tune in next time for another Wellness Wednesday.